Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pedagogy Pods. I'm Meenakshi Oberoi,
Hi, I'm Jyoti Chaba.
and we are here to present to you Pedagogy Pods. As the name suggests, pedagogy, which means all about teaching, all about what happens in a classroom. Pods means small bits and small bites. But what are we going to talk about? Jyoti, what do you think we should include in this podcast?
I think the very basic we should start with something to do with what is pedagogy all about in detail, and then what are we actually going to do? What do we actually mean by pods? What are we going to cover in those pods? How long those pods will be? So that people don't have much time these days, so we have to be keeping short and crisp and very interesting.
Very true. And I think it should all be about teacher life, the ups and the downs, things that nobody prepares us for. So, this is going to be a series. Every Friday, we are going to release one episode. Keep a lookout and stay interested. And if you want to hear about something, just let us know in the comments below. So, let's start. Jyoti, I became teacher by, I don't know what to say. It just had to be. I had to become a teacher. But I was never at rest because I wanted to do so much as a teacher. I'm sure you did too.
Right. I think both our stories are something similar. Even I was not a teacher at all. I was never I had never planned to be a teacher, but it just happened. And there was not even a single regret, even one day why we became a teacher. And for me, the biggest was, someday that student will remember me seeing his report card. If I made even a little impact in his life, if he'll remember me fondly, he or she, that thought really made me go forward every day.
So truly conveyed. It was our passion. It has always been our passion. Whether we were in classrooms or we are with teachers, doing trainings, writing curriculum, doing content, or simply just doing transformation projects. Our core is that we have passion at heart and we love to nurture education. And with that intent, we are here with this podcast. We really hope you love it with the passion that we love it.
And believe you me, you'll be waiting anxiously for every pod we create.
Well, fingers crossed at that. And let's start talking like I was in a classroom. I remember classroom as a beautiful place with a number of children, a lot of boards, colorful. It sounded a bit noisy, but I think those were productive noises that had to happen. Noises, you don't have an option. You need to deal with them. But I embrace the feeling that I had over there, and it was surreal. I just remember it just like that. What do you think?
Yeah. So for me, every morning when you entered a classroom, it was so nice to see those nice, bright, chirpy faces, ready to embrace the day, ready to learn something new. That gave me a big kick in the morning. Okay, we are ready to go and let's start. That was the big thing for me every morning.
Absolutely. Oh, talking of starts, I'm going to share something with you which has been very dear to me, and I've shared this in many of my sessions as well. But I think teachers will benefit greatly. So when I say the sound, you can't do much about the noise, but you know what you can do? You can make the noise better your way. How? Every morning, as I entered my classroom, it used to be my Zen place because nobody had arrived till then. And in my Zen place, what I do? I play music. And every morning, I used to play music on my laptop. And my only instruction to my students was while this is playing, your noise level should not go up that high that I can't hear this music. And I used to play a very special song most of the mornings for them, and it was the Cuppy Cake. If you haven't heard the Cuppy Cake, you've got to hear it.
Yeah, actually, that sets the mood of the day, I guess, for the children. What they are in for, what they're going to be doing, and plus just brings them to a little peaceful rather than jumpy all around. So that makes them a little peaceful and just ready to go and start the day.
And
Well
I
said.
think every teacher has a personality, and you bring your personality to your classroom. What was your personality? So, what would differentiate your classroom from another classroom?
See, what I kept in mind was that I always wanted my students to be very interactive. I didn't want me just talking and they just listening. So that was my key. I thought like they have to participate with me in everything. So I made sure that each and every child is participating with me in some way or the other. I was not happy if some child is sitting sad in the corner and not participating. So I'll go there, talk to the child, what's the issue or whatever it is. So I wanted my class to be very interactive, but in a peaceful manner, not mayhem.
So, that says a lot about Jyoti as a person, also. She's been a friend for years, and I can vouch for this to say she's the one who would reach out to people, who would engage people. who would be very inclusive. She'll make time for things. For example, she made time for us today. The Diwali rush that we have and the kind of exhibitions, the kind of fun and flavor that we have in the air. She still made time for meeting us today. Thank you
That's
for
so
that.
sweet of
Yeah.
you.
So, this is what it is going to be. It's going to be true. It's going to be us. And we are going to be absolutely candid with you for what we talk. I have one more very special guest for you. Let me bring her in over here and introduce her and let you get to know her better. So, with the intent of introducing my other co-founder, here's Meenakshi Lawat. I'll let her introduce herself to you and then we'll get talking.
मेरा नाम मीनाक्षी अलावत है और सब दर्शकों को मेरा प्यार भरा नमस्ते।
Okay, so we have Meenakshi Lawat, my co-founder, other co-founder with me, and let's ask her what was her feeling when she went into the classroom. Meenakshi.
Hi Meenakshi, first of all, congratulations. I am loving this show. This is so important these days.
Thank you. That was very important for me.
I'm so happy to be here with you today, and I would like to share my experiences. When I went to the classroom, first need was to connect with the students, and how I made connection with the students. I loved all the children. Their energy was so captivating. I really loved that energy. They were like all around, and I went to classes 4 and 5 first. And those children are so lovely. They take you with so much of grace and so much of love. They want to be all around you.
Yeah. You know what? You still hear that passion, don't you? That actually flows through and across our organization. Every member that you will meet and every guest that you will meet, you will feel the passion. So I would say the crux to education is you need to be passionate. Actually, that's true about any job. You could be passionate about, if you're not passionate about what you do, you can't give it its 100%, right? Give your 100%, but be very passionate. You know, Passion is just not a word. It actually reflects a lot of your inner person and the kind of person that you're conveying to others. So when you come across to anybody, let's say you're entering a class, there has to be a way in which you enter. If you
I
enter
completely.
the kind of
Hmm,
oh,
hmm, hmm.
another day, it's going to be another day for your students, isn't it?
Yeah, and I must add to it that you must be prepared for the class. That is very important for you to go to a class, enter a class where students can take that vibe from you, that ma'am is there and we are going to learn something very new today, very nice today, so that energy is always reflected in your students when you enter the classroom.
Yeah. And one of our principals said a very, I think, wise thing. She said, everybody carries a baggage, right? We are coming from somewhere else. We are coming into a place where we are hundreds and thousands of people who are going to be together. Imagine if everybody just carried their baggages. So when you enter the school gates, leave your baggage outside. Carry a vibe because now you're representing an organization. And that was such a wise thing to have said.
Yeah.
You're actually a part of an organization. You must reflect the part. Your vision statement states that this whole place has a vibe. That vibe is what you must convey.
But with that, Meenakshi, very important to see your students' mood also. And you should always be very conscious about the moods of the students, because they are very young, very this thing. They may come from some place where they are not feeling comfortable. Maybe somebody has said something to them, so they are hurt and they are not able to speak
Or
in the
even,
class.
very excited place. Maybe there's been a party at night. Maybe
Yeah,
there's been a wedding
they
in
may
the
not
house.
settle in the
You need to
classroom.
have the mood. You're absolutely right to
Mm-hmm.
set the mood right.
Set the mood.
At that, Meenakshi, give us one way in which you just set the mood of your class.
Oh, I loved it. I every day had so many ways to set the mood. I start my classroom with something to show, something new to the. If I'm teaching some topic, for example, I was teaching a poetry in grade 4, and that poetry was the morning time. So I took a tape recorder. That time there was a small recorder kind of things.
Yeah.
So I took that to classroom and I put a rag Morning ragas, they're so beautiful. And I was thinking ki whether grade 4 will be able to absorb this kind of material,
Or even
but
appreciate. Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
To my surprise, they were just listening with their eyes closed. And when they opened their eyes, I talked to them about morning sun, how it looks, and to imagine things. And they were in sat into that mood. And now the classroom was all mine to teach.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the kind of vibe creating that we are talking about. It's so within us that she didn't have to say to or tell students to close their eyes. You just listen to those hums, and you're really going to close
Hmm.
your eyes to be a part of that whole ambience. So that bringing about the ambience is something that I'm going to have a big takeaway today. Create the ambience. It's you. Showcase your personality. Let others also develop their own personalities. You don't have to impose yours on them. They can have their own personality, but let them have a way. At that, let me give you another bite. I was at an international school and we had students from other countries in my classroom.
Thank you.
I had an Australian student, I had Korean students, I had multiple Japanese students, multiple countries. And I remember, we used to sing or hum Om in the morning, right, as a part of our assembly. That child did not understand the importance, and the parents did not go with, why should my child be embracing your culture? And we totally went with it. You don't need to. But just understand the calmness, just understand the essence behind the whole piece and stay with it. So, flexibility in classroom. Another piece that I would say is extremely important. Are we getting too serious about things? Let's make it a little light. You see, she's having some tea or coffee. Let's spill some tea for you. We're going to ask some really quick questions, and whatever's on top of your mind, you have to answer. And believe you me, they don't know what the questions are going to be. Yeah?
Okay.
So, who goes first? Jyoti, Meenakshi? Okay, with Meenakshi. Let's go with
Yes.
Meenakshi first. Imagine she had to keep her tea aside for this. So, watch. Meenakshi, tell us about the funniest moment that you've had in your class with your students. Anything that they had to say or do.
There are many, many funny moments. I am a Hindi language teacher, and there are so many things which I can tell. But I remember one when students used to make sentences with words and idioms in Hindi. So sometimes it was so funny. One incident I'll tell about that एक वाक्य बनाना था कि वह अपनी पत्नी के साथ स्कूटर पर बैठकर चला गया, लेकिन बच्चे ने उसको ऐसे लिखा कि वह अपनी पत्नी के साथ स्कूटर पर बैठकर चल बसा, which which totally changed the meaning of the sentence, and it
Talk
was
about
so bad.
Muhavre idioms changing the whole piece. And yes, I know some of those accidents too.
I remember many of them, but it's one. So you asked one, so I'm telling one.
Thank you. Now, since you asked it so beautifully and you made us laugh, now you have a chance to ask either of us a question.
Okay, I'll ask you, Meenakshi, ki what was one moment which you still remember in your class, which made you emotional?
The whole piece, actually, because I mean, when you think back, going back into your classroom, believe you me, those students give you that energy, right? So everything about it is so emotional, whether it is entering that classroom. um, One thing that was very emotional for me was when one of the students who had shifted from Australia to India, and that child had a learning disability, and he did not interact with other students much. So that student, categorically, after he was allowed to go into different sections, try it out wherever he felt the best. He could sit and be a part of that class, and he came back to my class because the only thing he said was, "She smiles, so I want to sit with her." So
Oh,
that was something that was
wow,
very
so
endearing for me.
so
Student.
beautiful as a teacher. It's
Thank
so
you.
beautiful.
Thank you. Okay, so my chance, Jyoti, I'm going to ask you a question. Okay, so my question is going to be about, how do you turn around a bad day in a class into something very different?
Yeah. Actually, so many times, when you come to this classroom, sometimes something is bothering in the back of your mind, and you are carrying some kind of baggage. But then, when you see the students, you want to, turn around yourself and say, okay, forget it, I need to start, give a fresh start to the day and let me do this. So many times I used to do what I used to do was like asking students, "What's the best part of this class?" Then they will give you such nice answers, and totally it turns around. And then there are so many moments which are very touching for you. Some student will say, "Okay, ma'am, this is when I come to the class, I feel the best seeing you smile or seeing your energy." And sometimes I'll write something nice on the blackboard welcoming them. That also felt very good for them. Some students said, "Okay, I look forward to every day what is on the blackboard." So that was also one of the things. So like this, if you get 5, 7 of those comments, you totally turn around those day, and you are ready to take on a new day in a very bright and motivating way. That's how it
Absolutely. I
was.
think it's the innocence and it's the honesty behind those thoughts, behind those comments that just gets you going with the day, right?
Right.
Now, this is going to be the last one now because Jyoti answered, she gets to ask either of us, I hope you pick her, but then you get to ask either of us one question.
Okay, so one question to you, Meenakshi, is that sometimes we plan so many things with a lesson plan. What do you do if actually lesson plan doesn't go the way you want it? It totally goes down, it totally goes south. So do you think you had some strategy how to just change it around quickly? How did you go about it?
Hmm, interesting. When your lesson plans go south, that's the worst that can happen, right? So yeah, okay. I remember once in my class, I was talking about this concept of water cycle, and it's a very far away concept. Students don't really connect to it. So I had made these beautiful charts, and I had set up an experiment, and children were like not very interested, and I said, what do I do to turn this around? Because they need to understand what is water cycle, how does it run, what is the terminology. So one thing that we are taught in IB is backward by design. So I said, at the end of the day, what do I want my students to do? I want my students to know the definition. I need them to know the water cycle and every stage of water cycle. So I split that experiment into various pieces. One piece where condensation was happening, another piece where evaporation was happening, and another piece where precipitation was happening, all with a glass jar, some ice cubes, hot water, and a glass plate. And when that happened, guess what? It still went south. It's pretty normal that things will go south, and you will have to come up with a new way. But it went south, and I turned it around. And how it happened was they started making their own names for my experiments. I said, so what do you think is happening here? So one of my students said, it's rain in the jar. Imagine, rain in the jar. That wasn't the answer that I was expecting, right? So I said, all right, taken. Open your book, take a look at some of the words of this chapter, and now see if you can make a connect. So once they'd had their own thinking, I allowed them a freedom of thought, and they then collated those thoughts and arrived at, oh, you know what? In these three different things, there's a cycle that's happening, and that's how they arrived at.
Yeah.
And it just happened.
Actually, basically, lesson plans are mainly a guiding principle, right? We don't have to stick to them to the T.
Yeah.
It's like we know what our learning objectives, where we have to reach. So it's very it depends on the teacher how you turn it around quickly without letting the students know, and in a very creative way. Very well done, yeah.
Thank you. And I think today's generation is really quick. So we have to be very quick.
Very
What
quick,
also
yeah.
happens is you finish off your plan very quickly because they just got it, right? So it just happens. And therefore, a backup plan plus a plan A plus plan B plus plan C are very important. I hope this podcast would have really given you an insight and it would help you in a long way. That's what our intent is over here.
Exactly.
And we're going to meet you very soon with another topic, another expert guest, and we'll have many more quick bites to share with you. Come back next Friday and meet us.
Thank you.
Thank you.